Okay, I'm going to review the concept of diffusion with you. We've hit it once before, but we'll try it again here. To do so, let's start with a definition. And if you want to fill it in on your notes as I filled in up here, that'd be great. Diffusion is the movement of particles from a high concentration. Let's see if I can spell this. To a low concentration. Don't get too stressed about the definition. Basically, what it's saying is it's the movement of particles from where there's a lot to where there's a little. It's kind of like in the gymnasium. You got 50 kids in half the gym, and your gym teacher says, okay, now the whole gym's available. Well, you don't have to tell you to move to the open spaces. Kids will naturally move there so that there's an equal amount everywhere. That's what diffusion is. It's the movement of particles from a high concentration to a low concentration. Now we're going to use breathing as a way of teaching this, since we all breathe. And so right now, everyone take a deep breath. Here we go. When you take that deep breath, oxygen is going to come into your lungs. We're going to have these stars represent oxygen. And it fills up our lungs. And that's great because our body needs oxygen. The key is, though, we've got to get that oxygen to the rest of our body. And so our heart is constantly pumping blood. And right now the heart pumps blood and it brings a red blood cell into our lungs. Well, right now, if we were going to talk about oxygen and concentrations, we would probably say that there's a high concentration of oxygen in the lungs. And since there's no stars in the red blood cell, there's probably a low concentration there. So diffusion says that oxygen will move from where there's a high amount to where there's a low amount. And this process continues until we have an equal amount of oxygen in both places in terms of concentration. At that point, we reach what's called equilibrium. Let's add that to our notes here. Equilibrium, I'm not going to give you a fancy definition, it's basically when well, it has the word equal in there. So it's when we have equal concentrations of particles inside and outside the cell. That's good enough for us today. So right now, if you look at the red blood cell, there's 4 oxygen molecules on the inside, and there's 4 on the outside. So we would term this being at equilibrium. Now, that's not the end of the story, though. We've got this red blood cell here, though, full of oxygen. And now there's no longer a low or a high. And that red blood cell gets pumped again by the heart. And it gets sent out to Mr. Mackin's gigantic biceps, because I've been working on it. So here comes this red blood cell to the bicep. And you'll notice that that bicep at this point does not have any oxygen in it. There's oxygen inside the red blood cell, the stars, but there's none here. So in terms of a high and low, there's a high amount of oxygen inside the red blood cell, but there's a low amount in the bicep. So we would expect that the oxygen would move from a high to where there's a low until we have an equal amount in both places. Now you'll notice I have these green pentagons here, and that's because inside the bicep we've been carrying out respiration, which produces carbon dioxide. Got to get rid of that carbon dioxide. Unfortunately, these are particles. They're in a high concentration, so they will diffuse to where there's a low concentration. And we can get rid of some of that carbon dioxide when that blood cell gets pumped back out to our lungs. That's diffusion. So let's do a couple sample problems on your worksheet together, and then I'll let you take off by your own. On each of these problems, you're going to have to tell me which way the molecules are going to be moving. We'll assume these are also oxygen. And you have to tell me how many move in what direction. So let's start off by talking about where the high and low concentrations are. So notice we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 molecules in the inside or outside, and 3 on the inside. So our high is here, and our lower concentration is here. So if diffusion takes place, we would expect molecules to move from a high to a low. But how many? Let's try moving one of them, and then we'll count them up. If I diffuse 1 molecule of oxygen inside, now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 molecules on the inside. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 on the outside. Hey, we've reached equilibrium. We've met our goal. So our answer would be we'd have to move 1 in. Or in your case, just put down I for in equals, and then the amount of molecules you moved, which is 1. Let's try problem 2. Where's the high concentration? Is it on the outside or is it on the inside? I'll give you a second to think. If you guessed on the inside, you're correct. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 particles on the inside and only 2 on the outside. Diffusion says that we move from a high to a low, kind of like a waterfall. And so let's see, how many are we going to move to the outside? 1. Now we got 1, 2, 3, but we still have 5 on the inside, so we have to have some more go. 2. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 molecules on the outside and 4 on the inside, so we've reached equilibrium. And so our answer is going to be O for out, right? And then how many did we move? 2. Very good. Let's try problem 3. Let's start out by figuring out how many molecules we got in each place. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the outside, 3 on the inside. So we've got, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Highs on the outside, low on the inside. We move 1 inside to reach equilibrium, and hey, that's the same problem as before. We're going to move them in, and we're going to move 1 of them. Pretty tricky. Well, let's make this a little bit more difficult. Let's have 2 different types of molecules at the same time. When you do this, you have to look at each one separately. So let's start out with the orange molecules here. You'll notice that there's a higher amount on the outside, correct? Because they're all on the outside. That means there's a lower on the inside. And so they're going to move naturally to where there's less. Naturally to where there's less. And this continues until we have an equal amount in both spots, or equal concentration. So now our orange ones, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, are at equilibrium. Let's check out our stars. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the outside. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the inside. Hey, we don't have to do anything with the stars. So in this case, for our triangles, we'd say that, it went inside, right? And there was 3 of them for our triangles. Let's do this last problem together. On this one, we're going to have 2 separate answers here. Let's start with the orange molecules. There's a high on the inside, right? Because there's 1, 2, 3, 4. A low on the outside. How many do we have to move to reach equilibrium? Well, let's try 1 first. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Hey, that works. So they went out, right? And 1 of them went. So that's the answer for our triangles. How about for the stars? Let's see. Stars-wise, looks like our high concentrations on the outside and our low concentrations on the inside. We move 1 inside, still not at equilibrium. Another one diffuses in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, how many moved in? We had 2 move in. So we actually have 2 answers for problem number 5. All right. Your job now is to create 3 of your own diffusion problems. You'll have 3 different cells. And all you've got to do is create some particles and then give us the answer down below on which way the molecules would move. So, good luck, finish up, and fill her out.